From the News Channel 5 Network, this is OpenLine.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to OpenLine on Tuesday night. I'm Ben Hall. Good show tonight. We are talking about the high cost of nursing home care. That's one of many things that we'll be discussing. How do you plan for that? And we are happy to have with us elder law attorney Tim Takacs. Tim, thank you for being here.
Glad to be back.
You come on very often. We appreciate your advice. A lot of people for the holidays, maybe they'll see a loved one, a family member, and they're going to wonder, do they need to be thinking about some of these issues, a nursing home and caring for them and that kind of thing. So very timely. Want to give you a chance to call in 737 plus 737-7587 if you want to call. What have you seen in your office here lately?
Well, what we've seen in our office, of course, we usually see a lot of the people that are coming in who are trying to plan for long-term care. And, you know, one of the things that I guess I've noticed also is sometimes we're seeing younger people that are coming in. You know, I'm thinking now that we have a family that came in, or actually a wife came in the other day, and she's, about in her late 40s or late 50s, and her husband's in her late 50s, and he had a stroke 10 years ago, and she's been a caregiver for him. Wow. So she's been trying to work, trying to take care of him at home, and then of course, after a while, that just starts, with a minimal amount of help. So one of the things that
doesn't sound like elderly.
Yeah,
I mean, so that's
really
59.
Yeah, exactly.
But he's disabled.
Right, he's disabled, and sometimes it's like, okay, how do they find my office? And it's like, sometimes I say to people is that we have 90-year-olds that are coming into our office who are in good health. I mean, comparatively, we're not trying to plan for their extended care needs, although we might have conversations about that. But then I think the youngest client that I had was that when it was in a nursing home was in his early 30s. And he lived, he was married and he lived in the nursing home for 12 years, and and we helped him and his wife in making sure that his care was paid for, and she had money to make sure that she could live on, and was able to continue to work and whatnot. So
what are some of the big mistakes people make? Let's say you're caring for a loved one. So it's not you, right? You are younger, and it's maybe your parent. What are some of the big mistakes?
I think probably maybe the biggest mistake that people make is that they don't spend what they need to spend. So let's say you're 60 and mom's 80, and you're taking care of mom in her house, or maybe whatever it is, and they're saying, well, we need to make sure we save the money, so because the nursing home is going to get it and whatever, and so usually it's a daughter, or often a daughter, that's taking care of mom, and she's doing the cooking and cleaning and the bathing and the dressing and all the other stuff like that. Their daughter's wearing herself out. They have no support system, and they wind up in my office because maybe something happens to the daughter, or they're starting to see that maybe mom can't live at home anymore, and it's like, okay, well, what have you done financially? What have you done with personal care? Well, I've been doing it all. And we've been doing shifts and whatever, and I say, well, has mom been paying you for this? And it's like, oh, well, we'd never take money from mom. And it's like, well, it's not about taking money, but oftentimes you're coming in here to talk to me because you're concerned about, the nursing home getting all of mom's money. But if she had paid you for care over the last 5 years, which she could, and legitimately, because this daughter has been basically out of the workforce, away from her own family.
Right.
You may be not coming in here and asking me how to save money when mom has already paid you.
That's interesting.
So sometimes, and that's one of the hardest things that we see that children are unable to do, is to take money from their parents, because they say, oh, well, mom and dad raised me, and I would never take money from them, but then I will sometimes say to them, because I can get away with it sometimes, but and it's like, well, you wouldn't take the money, but did your mom ever offer it to you? Oh yeah, all the time, but I would never take it. And it's like, okay, so you made your mom feel like a charity case, right? Well, no, it's really not that way. It's like, well, wait a minute, so why didn't you take the money? And you kind of help people understand that it's not necessarily about what's best for you, but really it's about what's best for your loved one. And that's kind of where I think about that.
Right, money is at the root of so much of this, because when you start talking about nursing homes, they are so expensive.
Right.
And we've talked about it on the show, but what is? I'm always astounded.
$7,000-8,000 a month.
$7,000 or $8,000 a month.
Right, is what you're looking at.
So you're going to tear through retirement pretty quickly.
Right. So a lot of that planning then becomes, when you start thinking about it, is like in a case like this, you know, the families that are coming into us, and maybe mom's already in the nursing home, or she's this close from being in the nursing home, and almost invariably it's like, well, she didn't just wind up there. You know, she kind of had all these steps to get there. You know, and I want to find out is that, well, does mom owe you any money? I'm trying to say, okay, you took care of mom in your own house or her house for 4 years before we got to this place. Did she ever pay you? Well, no, I wouldn't ever take money from mom. And it's like, you know, I don't really ever want to tell people that, you know, you should have done this, because that's not my job.
Right.
You know, my job is to say, okay, what do we need to do moving forward? You know, but it's again one of those things that if people have an opportunity to plan in advance, yes, take care of mom in her own home or your home, you know, but there's a cost to that. You know, and mom should bear the cost, because in the future you may wind up in my office, you know, and ask about, well, who's going to pay the cost of the nursing home? It's like, well, your mom is, until she spends her money down. You know, and I don't want to, you know, but I want to have people, if they come to me 4 years before then and we have a plan in place and follow them forward, 4 years later, mom maybe has spent her money on taking care of herself because she's paid the daughter. So when they're coming back in 4 years later, you know, they're going, okay, well, so mom paid you maybe $140,000 or $150,000 over 4 years. I mean, because the cost of care at home, if you want 24-hour care at home in the marketplace, $10,000 a month.
Wow.
You know, so people, you know, they all want to stay at home and live, you know, but that, you know, if you paid for that privately, if you paid for a third party or a caregiver service for 24/7 care, you're looking at $10,000 a month, probably minimum.
We have several calls. It's always interesting to hear, you know, from people, their individual situations. Let's go to Brenda on line 1. Hello, Brenda.
Yes.
Hi, what's on your mind?
I have a kind of a different elder law question for you. My mother-in-law passed away probably a little over a year ago, and of course the state helped pick up part of her Part D.
Okay.
And we've actually contacted a lawyer regarding what do we need to do to get her house, because she owned her home sold, and so it just don't sit there and go down and down and down. And the lawyer did get with the state and said, yes, this is the amount that's owed, but we just can't get them to do anything. And it's sad enough to know that your parents and mother-in-law and father-in-law's passed, but then yet, you know, the house is sitting there going down day by day, month by month, and we really can't get the state to, you know, come in and say, okay, y'all can sell it. What do we need to do? And I was just wondering if there was anything that you could tell us to speed this process up so we don't have to sit there and watch the house go down and down and down, because the state does belong to the money. We've never tried to do anything about, you know, that, because it does belong to them, and we're in.
So, Brenda, what does the state, it's a state of Tennessee, what do they say, Mom, or is it your mother-in-law?
Yeah, it was my mother-in-law, yes.
And she died when?
She died last September.
Last September. And was there a probate that was opened, or what?
I actually went to a lawyer and say, okay, what do we need to do? We need to sell the house. Do we need to just give the money to the state, because it's theirs?
Uh-huh.
But we don't know. They haven't done anything, and it's like I said, we hate seeing the house just sit there month by month.
Right. So she was in a nursing home for a while, right?
In a nursing home, and she had 2 insurances, but I think the Part D probably came in to this amount of money that she owes.
Well, it's really not Part D that she would owe payback to it's for the 10 care choices for the Medicaid program.
It was.
Yeah, that's what the state of Tennessee is claiming.
Okay.
You know, and that's why I want to, you know, we've talked about this in the past, that if a person is in the nursing home and they own a house, you know, and they're on Medicaid at the time of their death,
right,
you know, then there is
it's theirs.
The state has a right to recoup. Now, I don't agree, you know, that the house belongs to the state, and we appreciate on the one hand as taxpayers that, you know, Brenda feels that, you know, that there is some payback here, but on the other hand is that if the state does want to get paid back for what they paid out for Brenda's mother-in-law at the nursing home, there are ways to go about doing that. And one of the ways that they do that is that somebody has to open up an estate and file a claim against the estate, and that would be the state of Tennessee. Because there, who knows whether there might be some defenses to the claim. Mm-hmm. Just because the state says, well, we paid for your mother-in-law, you owe us this money, then due process, that's one of those little words that we use that says, well, the law says that certain things has to happen, or should happen, or that the mother-in-law has a right to, and that is to have a hearing on whether or not the state actually does have a claim.
Okay.
So I would encourage Brenda to.
But is that Brenda's a very good call, and I appreciate you for calling in. Is that common that the state will take the house and then it sits for a long time this?
The thing to remember is that the state has not taken anything. When mother-in-law died, she still owned the house, and what they're required to do, I believe is that they're required to open up an estate, and this is what Brenda's family or the mother, their family can insist on and say, open up a probate estate. You file your claim, and whether it's $20,000 or $200,000 or whatever it is, and then the state then says, okay, then it goes in front of a judge, and the judge says, okay, that's a valid claim. Mm-hmm. The estate of mother-in-law owes X number of dollars, and that estate consists of this house.
Right.
And then the state says, well, we just want the money, so then the house gets sold.
So the state says, you all sell it, give us the money.
Right. The estate of mother-in-law, through the court sells.
So why isn't that happening here? I wonder what the deal is.
Well, a lot of it, to be honest with you, is that a lot of attorneys that they're not familiar with the process. We see it all the time. We get contacted, and our office gets contacted by lawyers all over the state, that ask me, like, well, the state, the state's come to us and they said this, and we're going, no, wait a minute. Have you done this or this or this? Well, I just thought they owed the money. The money was owed. It's like, well, it's really not. Why don't
challenge it?
Yeah. Why don't you do a little, act like a lawyer? Mm-hmm. Frankly, do a little bit of research and see what the state is required to do in order to get their money.
And make the state do that. Okay, right. Interesting, Brenda. Yeah. Thank you for that. Okay, we're going to take a break. Yeah. If you're on the line, hold on. There are a couple calls there. Danny and others, hold on. We'll take a break. Be back right after this.